Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. We're here at MTTS Trading, located in Los Angeles, sunny California, and we're here to talk to you about a couple ticker symbols. First, we're going to start off with MBI. MBI Incorporated is a Puerto Rican bond insurance corporation, and it has really been suffering most recently from the recent downturn of the Puerto Rican fiasco involving the hurricane and back-to-back. And so let's look at it from a 1 year time frame at first. We see here been a massive sell-off right around early September, which you could trace back to the height of the hurricane around September 15th. And we see right there, that's where we actually have a sell. MTTS actually has its own buy and sell indicators that we have created for you as the individual to help find a position of where to exit and enter the stock. You see here, there was also a buy entry right here, but we see that we use other time frames as well to confirm a buy or sell signal, so that way we can strengthen whether or not there's actually a buy or sell signal. And you notice right here, there was a kurtosis spike at around 510 to 522. And now this spike might have been due to a technically, relatively safe period of uncertainty with no threat of any looming hurricane, and they're paying down their books, they're paying down their debt, and shows long-term financial strong signals. However, as we approach the hurricane, we see there has been a massive sell-off due to that. And now we can look into a shorter time frames. We're looking right here at the 1 year daily chart. Let's try the 3-month daily chart. And looking at right here on each candle represents 1 day. We have seen a massive sell-off ever since around the 1050 area all the way down to 750, bottoming around 750, 765. So we can see here, looking at this chart time frame, that really there's no way for this stock to really have a bounce yet until it gets some real confirmation, whether it's from the president saying he's going to pay down the rest of the debt, or from the company itself that they have a plan to restructure the debt and resurface and retool itself to be able to handle the uncertainties that exist in the market environment. Now, let's look at a shorter time frame, the 5-day, 30-minute chart. Let's see, from a shorter time frame, we look at 750 as our near-term support line. Now, although that might seem to be, kind of close to where we're already at, this would be a near-term support. So let's draw our line at 750. So we keep it smooth and simple, and we have a clear identification of what's going on. And see, the 750 area touches around 1, 2 to 3 candles. It doesn't exactly go through it, but as a roundabout reference, we are good just to have that as a solid area. Since we are all psychological traders and the market is run by people, we have to keep in mind that they often use these key levels of identification to really have an idea of where the future of the stock is going to go. So now this is a short-term time frame. We could even say, so we're going to use red for our support, and resistance will be in blue. Now we could set 780, I want to say 780 for the near-term support. Near-term resistance, and we're going to choose that as light blue, and to signify that is a actual support line. Now let's extend to the left, and you can see here, right around 780 is where we see some near-term resistance for the stock. If there is going to be a bounce, we actually have a buy signal on the 5-day, 30 minutes. Well, let's see now, looking at another time frame, let's try looking at the 10-day, 30-minute. We see here it has longer channel trading that has seemed to trade between 780 and 750. This 0.3 point spread is really where the stock has been trading since about, let's say last Thursday of this week on the 7th. So we see that the stock has really, since Thursday, been channel trading in this area. Now, as we wait for more news to come out, we might see the stock go into a different direction, either up or down, but that is all based off of the news and the fundamentals. The technicals show that it's really trying to find a decision of where it's trying to go. As a technical trader, we need to add the fundamental analysis to understand why the stock is staying stagnant and has not moved since Thursday, pretty much staying around a 0.3 spread. Now, going to the 1 year chart, we see another longer term support would actually be, going back to this, and this is actually a 3 year. Let's go to a longer term time frame. See how a year we could see some longer term support. Okay, so let's go. We're going back to around 20. This is around last year at around, let's see, what year was that? Okay, yeah, that was last year at around 11, that's around November 16th, 2016. So we're going back to November of last year. We see that it did trade around the lows of 725, but we could actually set a higher term support. Let's see if we could find something over here. So we want it to go through at least 3 candles, as we always support that idea at MTTS, because it's the rule of 3. Probability seems to work in the way of 3. So we want to stick with having 3 support lines or resistance lines for any measure of what we're looking at. And now we could draw in here. Let's see. I like the 730 area because it goes through all the candles, all these 4 candles actually, and it cuts right through about the middle of most of them, and as well as the tail of this longer term downward candle. Now let's draw this line at around 730 just to be safe. We could even set one at 740 if we want to. Let's set one at 740. Okay. So 740. Just draw it. Edit it if you get, if you're not able to perfectly do it, neither am I. You just go back in and just edit it, okay? And we're going to also add in another support line like we said. 730 as our near-term support. And we see here we could extend these drawings to the left. We're using Thinkorswim, by the way. And everything that's provided here this is the MTTS trading system along with our kurtosis. And the kurtosis really measures the volatility. And this is only $29.99 for the kurtosis. The MTTS is our more complete package, giving you the buy and sell indicators as well as a host of other packages for about $1,000. But as a starter, you could start with the kurtosis and be able to get all the free updates that we will be giving in order to make this more of a tool as a MTTS trading tool to get going and understand how the market works in flux. And finally, let's move our last support line to around 715, which is the low from a year ago in November, which, keep in mind, this is hurricane season, goes about till the end of the year, I believe, or extends till next year. So it's important to keep in mind that it's pretty cyclical how this market works according to this stock. We see 715 is our key long-term area of support. This is the level that we do not want to see this stock go below. If it drops below this level, it could be a free fall into a longer-term low, below, maybe even below $7. So let's keep in mind these price targets when we're looking down at the support line. Now, let's build some longer-term trend lines for resistance. So if we see this is going to actually bounce, let's say Trump has some news, hey, I'm going to relieve the bonds for Puerto Rico. So that could actually lead to a spike in the stock. And noting this stock, I could think it would lead to a massive spike based off of its short float, which I needed to check. But I think based off of just how the stock moves, it will be a big gradual move, just as we see last November when the stock spiked after falling to 715. We might actually see a similar trend in this stock. So let's draw some long-term support resistance lines. See, right around here we can cut through. Let's get at the top of this candle, and this one will cut through both of them, and we're going to set it at 785, just so we're just trying to stick technical. Well, if you want, let's do 790. 790 is a good range of where we want it to go in the future, and I designate this using a blue line to submit that it is actually a resistance line, the price that we need to break above. So we got 780 and we got 790 as a key term for resistance for MBI, which is a Puerto Rican bond that really has been suffering ever since the horrible tragedy that occurred in Puerto Rico. Now let's look at another term, longer term resistance. And let's see, we could actually use a shorter term time frame of about, let's try 10 days and 3 months. 10 days and 30 minutes. That means for every 10 days we're looking at each candle represents 30 minutes. So looking at the shorter term time frame, we can see 815 would be another key level to break through. So let's go ahead and chart this line, edit 815. It's better to be more clear with these lines. You know, you could exit an entry, could be a little bit more subtle, but we want to keep these as being very concrete, not abstract terms. We also see 8 being a near-term resistance. Keep in mind, price targets are created through looking at the EBITDA, you know, the estimated balance and interest and earnings and all those other things, combined with its price earnings to ratio and a host of other ratios that really gives analysts how they price a stock. For us, we're sticking with the technical trading. We're not getting into the fundamental analysis because we feel that it's better to look at the charts, and oftentimes the charts will prove what you need to look at. So looking at that, we can add the extension. Oh, and also to show the price, just put on the left or on the right, and now you have a way to check the price as we are charting it. So $8, and you could just extend to the left. There you go. And let's make sure we get all the price targets showing. So simple to do. Just make sure you do it because it makes it easier to see what you're really looking at. We'll just do it for all of them. Might as well. Okay. 7.5. And remember, we drew this one as 7.4. Okay, cool. So we got our near-term resistance. We got 4 lines of resistance for the near-term future. Now let's set a long-term resistance. Let's say the stock manages to pile through and redo what it did back in November. Well, looking at this, we can see it really could gap up all the way to the 840 area. Okay. Now, if we really want to be cute, we can set it at 845, and that way we can get ourselves a longer term trend line that will really show us where we need to see the stock go into the future. And let's always make the extension. So we got our key levels of resistance and support. Let's back up to the 1-year chart and see how this all looks together. Wow, you see this? It really starts to come together, and you really start to see these areas, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This really becomes the area of key level of resistance. Now, see how I'm looking at the longer term time frame? I feel like I could even add an extra midterm resistance level. Let's see if we could find one. I like these candles right here. So I'm going to choose 8.35 seems to be key level. Okay, let's add 835 to our charts. Remember, we're looking for at least 3 candles to hit at all times when we're trying to chart candles. They often ask me, Eric, how do you find your support and resistance line? I always look for the 3 levels of candles touching each other to really help us find it. In this case, pretty close. You know, if we want to be extra, we could really go back, edit it, make it at 840, just so we can really be secure that we really are hitting where we need to go. So it cuts us through both of those lines. We could actually go to this and put the extension. Okay, of course we want to make it blue. Okay, see? Now we got a long-term chart of how to look at the stock. And so now we're picking our levels and we're understanding where is the stock going in the future. Not based off of any predictions, but just based off of technical analysis using our MTTS trading system along with kurtosis. Now looking at the stock, the 0 level is really where we see a spike in the volatility, and kurtosis measures the volatility. It's what's not priced in when the stock is priced. So really what the MTTS trading system does with kurtosis is able to check the long-term what's not priced into the stock, and that's what really allows it to shoot off and skyrocket. Looking back to around last year, around May, we see the stock spike to a high, and that really shoots off really this recent trend upward. Now we could see here, let's take off all these, let's remove all these old drawings. Let's remove all these old drawings. Let's see if I can. Oh, let's see, we'll just supposed to remove them, but let's just remove them by hand. So let's see. If you don't want to do this extra work, I have another faster way to draw the trend lines of how you want to look at a stock. So another tool I like to use is I go to the 1 year. I use this tool, go to the drawing tools. I look for the Fibonacci retracement. And when I use the Fibonacci retracement, I find the recent lows of the stock. So let's use, since 3 years is a little bit more pivotal for what we're trying to look at, we can kind of see. Well, remember, remove these drawings. So you want to start over. Okay, so the stock has a bottom of 494. However, we don't need to look at all that. We're just going to go to the 1 year. There we go. 715 is the 1 year low. So we draw from the left to the right of the recent highs. And 1165 was the recent high. So, looking at this 1 year time frame, and that was about at the beginning of January, we saw the stock hit a bottom of 715 and a high of 1165. So look at right here, we're off on one exit or endpoint, so you could just go in. You remember, you just right click here and you can go to edit properties, and you could always edit the stock and everything. So you see here, looking at this, which provides a really fast way to look at the stock and chart it using Fibonacci retracement, we can see here that the stock has already set a really good key area for 715. So anyone who wants to play the stock and not rush into it should wait until the 715, 720 area, 725 area that we had recently charted beforehand. And you could see how our lines actually start to line up with what we were thinking about. So the Fibonacci often provides confirmation for the support and resistance lines which you had already drawn. So looking at this, we see that the key areas of level of 812 could pretty much round that to 810. Remember, we had 825 as well as 840 on our list. So we have a key area of looking to see where the stock will pop. And it's not just based off speculation, but we actually base it off technical analysis. And using the MTTS trading system along with kurtosis, we could find another spike. Now see how it spiked at around 510 to 525 to 526. You see, this spike could easily happen again in MBI if we get a volatility increase that the market is not able to price in. An example of that would be President Trump saying he is going to remove all the impositions against the bonds of Puerto Rico, and he's going to help them from defaulting. If that is actually possible, we could see this stock skyrocket back above the $8 area in a matter of no time, and it would happen all caught on the kurtosis volatility indicator. Now, if there's any other questions you have with MTTS and how we trade our system, and as well as looking at the stock of MBI in multiple time frames, please feel free to reach us out at mttstrading.com, or you can email me at eric.chavez.516@my.csun.edu, as well as our admin email. Anyway, I would really like to say have a great weekend. Always keep trading, always keep looking at the technicals, never stop looking at the technicals. It's the fundamentals of how we really do it and how does hedge funds do it, as well as a host of other traders. And it's really the key to building a clear strategy on how to build a successful market strategy. Thank you for your time and have a great weekend.